Business Games. Episode 2, Agile Scrums.
Welcome to the official Business Games vlog, hosted by business influencer Marco Peterson. In these sessions, Marco links together sport and business to provide strategies, tactics, tips, and game plans on running your business more effectively. Years of business experience combined with the proven methodologies of the alternative board. These vlogs form a valuable source of knowledge for any business owner. And what better way to highlight the strategies needed to succeed in business than by referencing sport? So let's suit up and get into this episode of Business Games with your host, Marco Peterson.
Good day, business fans, and welcome to the second episode in this series, Agile Scrums. I'm your host, Marco Peterson. Please remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you don't miss an episode. In this episode, we focus on Agile methodology for business. Now, not many people will link Rugby Scrums and Agile in the same sentence, given the size and the mass of most forwards that play in these positions. But it will become clear as we move through today's content. Rugby is a team sport, and players need to combine in order to succeed. The same is true for organizations and their teams. So let's get into this episode of Business Games. So, where did the term Agile come from in the business world? It was developed in the IT space to assist project managers build and manage IT development projects. It is a methodology to help teams work together and learn from experiences, self-organize, and reflect on wins and losses. Traditionally, what used to happen on a development project is that once the scope of the project was agreed, the development team went off and developed the entire program. They only came back at the end of the build with the customer to review the final product. It was at this point where problems were identified in the functionality and customer experience, relating to a variety of reasons. The developers would then have to go back and make changes, rewriting code, breaking links, etc. This process led to massive overruns in time and cost for IT projects. So the Agile approach or Scrum approach was developed. This methodology has since been applied to the general business world to manage projects and processes across all functions in the business. Often thought of as an Agile project management framework, Scrum describes a set of meetings, tools, roles that work in conjunction to help teams structure and manage their work. At its core, Scrum is all about continuous learning and adjusting to change. It acknowledges that we don't know everything at the start of a project. Just like in rugby, you're not entirely sure how the scrum against the other team is going to go. It's structured to help teams naturally adapt to changing market conditions, and it's great for managing big, complex projects. Let's take a closer look at how it works. In rugby, the scrum is a short period of play used to drive the team forward. In the rugby scrum, things are constantly changing, and the team will shift their efforts based on what the opposition tactics are. The team will learn something at each scrum and use this to their benefit going forward. Here's how it works in your company. A business has a particular project or process to manage. There is a long list of requirements, enhancers, fixes, processes to work on. This is called the project or process to-do list. Every few weeks, the team plans which of the tasks from the project to-do list they're going to work on during the next sprint or short time period. These sprints are normally around 2 weeks, but your team can decide on a length that works for you. So the entire project is not worked on all at once, just the elements the team identifies as the next priority. Throughout the sprint, the team participates in a number of events on a regular basis. These are often called ceremonies. They create regularity and help teams maintain transparent, clear communication, adapt to change, and continuously learn. Think of these as the regular communication rugby players have at the end or the beginning of a passage of play. The key ceremonies are as follows: sprint planning, daily scrum or stand-up, sprint reviews, and finally, sprint retrospectives. Right, let's start with the sprint planning. In rugby, the forwards put together a particular game plan on how they're going to play the next match. They're not focused on the road to the final and who they will potentially play next. Their focus is on the game at hand. Will they want to try have more lineouts, more scrums, mauls, or open play? They put together a game plan for the next 80 minutes. During the business sprint planning, your team decides what you want to accomplish during the next sprint. This is the sprint goal. Then you work together to move certain tasks from the to-do list to the upcoming sprint. You need to keep in mind what's feasible to complete in 2 weeks. Next is the daily stand-up. In rugby, this is the pre-scrum quick chat by the forwards, captain, and scrum half. They'll communicate what the aim of the next particular play is going to be. Is it to drive up the field? Is it to set up the fly half for a kick? Or is it to set the back line in motion? This will happen multiple times in the match as the team decides on what the next best course of action will be at the next scrum. Right, let's connect this to your business. During each day of the sprint, you and your team have a daily scrum or stand-up. This is a super short meeting that happens at the same time and place every day. It's usually in the morning and lasts for about 15 minutes. Don't let it turn into an hour-long meeting that gets in the way of the other work. The goal of the daily scrum is to get everyone on the same page. It's also a time to voice any concerns you have or things that may be blocking you from making progress towards the sprint goal. Sprint reviews. During a match or at half-time, a rugby team will have a more in-depth discussion about the effectiveness of their game plan. What's working well, what does the score reflect, and where do they need to improve? They will adapt their game plan, bring in substitutes, and motivate each other to help improve the performance of the forward pack. This translates in the business world as follows. At the end of the 2-week sprint, a project team gets together for a sprint review. This is an informal session to see what was accomplished. This review meeting is when the project team shows off what tasks they've finished or completed to the project manager. The manager will then either approve these as complete or not. The manager also reworks the running to-do list based on the current sprint. New tasks may be added to the task list based on feedback obtained over the last 2 weeks. The new list now serves as a starting point for the next sprint planning session. The final step of every sprint is the retrospective. The post-match debrief is where the rugby team comes together with the coach to review what worked and what did not work in the match. Sometimes a screaming match ensues. Changes to the team, the overall way the team will play the next match, and areas of training focus will be implemented. In an organization, this is where the team comes together to talk about, document, what worked well and what didn't work well. This reflection could be about the sprint, the project as a whole, the people, the relationships, and the tools. The idea isn't to dwell on what went wrong, but to create a safe space where the team can talk about what went well and what needs to be improved the next time round. So, to recap, the 4 scrum ceremonies are the sprint planning, daily scrum or stand-up, the sprint review, and the sprint retrospectives. These are the practices that will hold your processes together. Agile methodology can be applied to all functions in a business, not just the IT development space. It can be used to run monthly workflows, not just big projects. An example here is the accounts department's monthly processing to get to the month-end management pack. So break this up into what needs to take place each week. Have the daily stand-up meetings with the accounts department to check in that the tasks are being accomplished for that sprint. Review the processes after month-end to identify any areas of possible improvements. So rugby scrums are agile, as they move forward in small increments or sprints, learning and adapting to change as they go. If you want help in implementing agile methodology in your organization, reach out to me. Right, we're coming to the end of this episode of Business Games. My sportsman's quote for this episode of Business Games is from Richie McCaw, the great New Zealand rugby captain. I quote, "I don't believe in magic, I believe in hard work." There's no magic formula in business. Sometimes you need to grind it out as the forwards do in a rugby game. But remember, the forwards learn at every maul, scrum and line-out, and so should you as you create an agile business. Small incremental wins will lead to massive positive change. Please remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Till next time, business fans, cheers for now.
Thank you for joining us. We are looking forward to hosting you again soon. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and share these sessions with your network. This episode of Business Games was proudly sponsored by Tiger Consultants, Payroll Bureau,